I'm Steve Dangle, and you're listening to Stick to the Pod.
And hello everyone, and welcome back to Stick to the Pod. Here we go, Season 2, straight into it. So what's new? Well, the season's right around the corner. Everyone's played the pre-season games, barring one or two. The fixtures start good and proper this weekend, even though Sheffield and Nottingham started last weekend. So, where do we start? Well, we've got to start with what is new. Well, first of all, we had a summer of new things, really. The EIHA, or now the EIH, have changed a few things. We now have 2 imports. Yep, no more 3 imports in our division, just the 2. Still allowed on the ice at the same time, so very much better for development, especially in our division. What else is new? Well, imports went from 3 to 2, but the points have gone from 2 to 3. Yes, it's now 3 points available for a win on a match night. So what does that mean when it goes to overtime? The loser will receive 1 point and the winner will pick up 2 points. So there's only ever 3 match points available. So how will that play out this season? I don't know. You tell me. Get in touch. Drop me a message on Facebook, X, or also known as Twitter, or you can drop me an email at sticktothepod@gmail.com. And what else is new? Well, we've got a change to the playoff format as well. After a very, very successful time last year, one of the best playoffs that I've been a part of. I really, really enjoyed myself. We're changing it up a little bit. So this time we aren't going to see semi-finals and a final on a Sunday. This time we're going to see South 1, South 2, North 1, North 2 finals on a Saturday, and then a national final on the Sunday. And the plan is we're going to alternate these venues, North and South, year after year. Hasn't been confirmed this year where it's going to be, but if I was a betting man, I might just say it's heading north first time round. So what's new with the podcast? Well, not a lot really. I am going to try and bring you a lot more content. But I'll be here every week to give you a little review and preview of what's going on. But this episode is a little bit special. I've got 2 treats for you. Not 1, 2. Yes, I've done my first ever interview. So I'd like to thank Ben at Zero Pucks and also Graham at Hockey Talk. So the reason for speaking with Ben is just to give you guys a little insight to what's going on in the South, just because we are going to see them next April at playoff weekend. So I have a little chat with Ben and he will tell us who's to look out for, who's who, and yeah, I had a really good chat with Ben about hockey in the South. And with Graham, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of insight about the Morley Conference. That just isn't my opinion. Graham loves his hockey as anybody. Like I say, he's also been on Zero Pucks Given with Ben. He helps out with 4,000 and Counting with Watty, and he also runs Hawks Talk, I believe it's called. So he does know his thing, so you get his opinion, and I have a little chat with Graham about hockey in our division. So I don't need to ramble on too much about the goings on of our division this year, because me and Graham do cover quite a lot of that. I will touch on a couple of things around the league that's happened this year. So big news from Billingham, no Tom Brown or Patrick Grigors this year. Patrick Grigors had moved on to Edinburgh, but Whitley have decided to pick him up due to their defensive shortage, and Tom Brown's going to try his luck in the National League with Romford. Players coming in, however, will be Jacob Hammond. He'll be stepping up full-time, along with Rowan Mills from the Buccaneers. And we have a 2-way talent in Conor McNulty, who joins us along with the Kilmarnock Thunder. Most of you guys will have seen him in action last weekend, and what a debut it was. Blackburn, not a lot happening over in Blackburn. Their major news this year was probably keeping hold of Ben Keddy and Adam Barnes, and also bringing in 4 GB under 18 talents. So they're trying to keep that young and hungry player. D-side, again, not a lot happened there. They've lost Andrew McKinney, who's having a break from hockey. Netminder Matt Croyle's moved on to the Scimitars, and that just about covers their departures. So it is pretty much as you were, minus them two players. Hull Jets have made a few announcements themselves. They've brought in a few. Vlad Volkanov's being the most standout of those from the Sheffield Steel Dogs, and bringing Brandon Stones over from the Scimitars as well. The league's new boys, Leeds Knights. Not a lot I can really go on with them. They have signed a few guys. Most notable guys that you'll probably recognise will be Fritz Heinzel from the Skims last year, who was very impressive. And Matthew Barlow has also moved over from Widnes onto the Lions, who probably signed the biggest name this year. Obviously losing Zachary Yokiyama was huge, but they have brought in Ales Padalek. Yes, the guy is 44, but he's still a very good player in the National League last year. The Skims is going to be hard to describe their roster so far. They have brought in a couple of guys. Obviously, as mentioned, Matt Croyle coming in. Also Marcus Thacker from Blackburn. And obviously keeping hold of Michael Daneko, who will be a standout for them this year. The Solihull Barons, again, haven't brought anyone in notably, but they still do have that top line if they can keep it injury and ban free in Nick Otterson and Cahey brothers. But the loss of Richard Crowe at the back end could be a too big a gap to fill. The Whitley Warriors, well, they were having a good off season right up until about 2 weeks ago when they lost Matt McDonald and Craig Johnson. And obviously Riyad's Grigors moving back to Edinburgh. But they did bring one Grigors in. They brought in Paddy Grigors, who unfortunately fell foul to the import rule at Billingham. Whitley have a huge defensive need, so he has gone over there. I wish him all the best with that one. And they also brought in Ethan Reid from Chelmsford. And on to the season's biggest merry-go-round was probably Widnes. I couldn't tell you how many players have come in and gone there. Noticeable players that have left. Nathan Britton going to Hull. Joey Coulter going back to Solway. Carl Carruth going full-time at Solway. Barlow going to Leeds as well, as we mentioned earlier. Players coming in. They're coming in from all sorts of places. Trying to think of the standout names. Will Daly, Tristan Grimshaw from Nottingham. Harry Campbell coming in from Kilmarnock. Ross Chalmers coming in from Kilmarnock. Scott Kirkpatrick coming in from Solway. So obviously keeping their Scottish contingent as well. So like I say, not too much detail there. I am going to bring you the two interviews now. First up is the interview with Ben at Zero Pucks Given. It is a great listen, so I hope you do enjoy it. And then straight after that, we'll go straight into the interview with Graham, where we go into the Norway Conference a lot more detail. So here they are. I hope you enjoy them. Well, hello everyone. A bit of a treat for you all. I have my first ever guest on Stick to the Pod. It is our very own Scott from Zero Pucks Given. And say hello, Scott, if you wish.
It's Ben, mate. It says Scott.
Oh, sorry, Ben. Yeah, sorry. I know it's Ben. I don't even know what I've been talking to Graham Hamilton all day about you, saying Ben this, and I go and look up, and it's because that's what I get, and that's why I don't read things, because I get mistakes like that. But it is Ben.
It's a common thing because I actually share my Zoom account with the lovely guys over at 3 on 3 podcast.
Right. Okay.
It's in the name of Scott Finley, but I'm Ben. I'm the host of Zero Pucks Given, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be with you, mate.
Yeah, fantastic. So I know everyone would be crazy going, why has he got someone on from Zero Pucks Given? Why is it Ben from the South? Well, our wonderful EIH have decided to they've adapted this year's playoff format. And this time we're going to get to see a national playoff champion, so we get to see more of you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think over the last couple of years, obviously the North have they've owned that Division 1 that league winners final that takes place at Coventry. Obviously, the Solway Sharks had a couple of really quite impressive victories over the Streatham Redhawks. And then last year it was your team, wasn't it? The Billingham Stars.
It was.
Won the league and come up against Streatham. And in all honesty, Streatham took home 4 trophies last year. The only one they didn't take home was the playoffs. But the only one they really wanted to take home was the one they won from you.
Yeah, we heard it for a fair few years. It's Ben Painter, as I believe, is the coach down at Streatham. It was the only trophy ever he wanted. Obviously, failing twice against an absolute stacked Solway Sharks team. By the way, I think most of them are still in that roster now that probably played that final, apart from the two that have just retired in Struan and Ross Murray. And I think they're both coaches now. But yeah, it was a first experience for Billingham. Wasn't the best experience due to organization point of view. Like, I mean, it was 3 weeks after our playoff weekend. We'd lost a couple of players through injury, and then obviously when we drove down on a Saturday morning, it was like a monsoon driving down the motorway. So yeah, it didn't quite go to plan. But the roster the Stars have put together this year, you never know, we might just be there again. But if not, we do have this playoff format where we'll have a national playoff champion this year. So what is your thoughts on the new playoff format?
I think it's a fantastic idea. I think not so much in the north. I've not managed to see a great deal of it, but in the south, certainly. Over the last few years, it's been at Milton Keynes, Planet Ice Milton Keynes. Going back to sort of coming back from COVID, the first one was, I think it was Chelmsford, Streatham, Bristol, and Romford, and there was probably 500 people there for the weekend. But that rink holds 2,000, so
Yeah.
it didn't look particularly full. The following year, Chelmsford didn't make the finals, and they do actually have quite a large following, which may sound biased as I'm a Chelmsford fan, but they do have quite a large following that follow far and wide. So the attendance was really poor at Milton Keynes. I would probably say less than 200 for the weekend.
Yeah, it's been a funny one in the north, to be honest. We went to Planet Ice Leeds. Again, not a, Stars weren't really expected to make it, made it. I couldn't unfortunately make it because I never expected us to make it last year, so I had plans made. So that was Planet Ice Leeds, not a great big attendance. Then it went to Planet Ice Altrincham, a bit better, but again, obviously still arenas that are holding 4,000 people. Again, it was sparse. But last year they went back to the Division Two and Division One playoff, all in Sheffield, and it was fantastic. It's the people who know me, I don't go to watch my team. I play off weekend. I go to talk to other hockey fans. For me, it's a big party. It's a celebration, and I get to talk. I spent a lot of time with Graham Hammett. I'll probably tell you, I probably spent a lot of time with him than I did my own missus that weekend, just talking hockey, talking the future of hockey and where we could see it going. And we did not expect to be seeing a national playoff next year, which I think will be fantastic. I know the venue is still yet to be 100% confirmed by the league themselves. But I'm edging my bets towards the north this year, to where it might be. But yeah, a South 1 and 2 final, a North 1 and 2 final, and then the national games on the Sunday should be an absolute fantastic spectacle.
It should be. I really like the way they did it last year when, as you say, they put the 1 and 2 together on the same weekend. It did work quite well in the south. We were at
It was,
Alexandra Palace.
yeah, we had 6 games of hockey. It was great.
Yeah, we had the same. So you have the four semi-finals on the first day, two finals on the second. I was lucky enough to be part of the commentary team for England ice hockey that weekend as well.
Yeah,
So I had not only did I have the best seat in the house, I managed to see my team actually bring it home as well, which was fantastic
yeah.
stuff.
Was it the shock against Streatham?
No, Streatham were beaten by Solent in the
Solent,
semi-final.
that was it. Yeah, yeah. We had the big shock up north was in Division Two, where fourth place Buccaneers beat Telford and then they beat Sutton in the final.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
was the shock up
they
north.
ended up taking it home, didn't they?
But isn't the atmosphere much better as well when you get those shocks and
Oh,
everyone's talking about it, and it's unbelievable.
yeah, I mean, Romford are normally the Romford Buccaneers. They're normally the team from the Britain division that shock everyone at playoffs and end up in the finals when no one expects them to be there.
Yeah,
The only unfortunate thing is similar to actually what happened to Solent this year. Solent mentally exhausted themselves beating Streatham on the Saturday to the point that when they faced Chelmsford on the Sunday and they were a goal behind within 50 seconds, their
yeah,
heads
it's
were,
hard to pull back.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to pull back. So the main reason we have you here is for the South. Um, who are we going to see at playoff finals next year? Who are the top dogs? Who are going to be the surprise package? And who are those big names that us Northerners need to look out for before we head into that playoff weekend next April?
There's quite a few. I don't know if you're having the same thing up north, but we're getting a lot of players that are actually dropping out of the National League and coming down to this level because it suits their family life or their personal life. It just suits them better with the compacted travel. I'm expecting to see the Streatham Redhawks up the top of the league again. I think if you finish above them, you are winning the league. They're incredibly strong. They have lost a few. Brandon Miles has made his way over to Slough Jets because they were in desperate need of an enforcer. So he's gone to fill that role over there. But they've brought down the likes of Harvey Steed from the Bracknell Bees, Aidan Doughty. They've really padded that roster out with some experience. And what Ben went for last year that he hadn't in previous years was, what's the point in scoring 20 goals a game if we can't keep 20 out?
Yeah.
So they went for a stronger defense, and they were incredibly hard to beat last year. I think they were only beaten, I think it was 3 times in the league, and once in other competitions. One of them was away at Oxford, which was a shock defeat for them quite early on. But they're incredibly hard to beat, and they're also incredibly physical and so well drilled as well. So they will be the team to beat. The team I think that are going to be coming up the rear of them are the Slough Jets.
Yeah, it was a couple of young studs firing goals in for fun last year.
Yeah, they've got a sort of a front forward line that I dubbed the Holy Trinity last year in the Moore brothers, Christian and Sebastian Moore, and Jack Goodchild. And Jack Goodchild is just ruthless, an incredible finisher. They've got younger lads as well, the likes of Carl Bradburn coming straight out the juniors. They're just proper little rockets. They're shooting down the wings at such pace. They'll shoot shots from any angle. They can score a multitude of different goals against you. And they skate so fast and so hard that they're also incredibly hard to beat. Last year, their discipline let them down. And that was the only thing that really got in their way, was where some of their big lads were ending up taking penalty minutes because they've just lost their heads.
Yeah.
This year, they're going to be that 1 year a little bit more mature, and they've got Brandon Miles and Alex Cole to do a little bit of that dirty work. So I think that they're probably going to be the ones that are pushing Streatham the hardest.
Yeah, do you think there'll be a bit too much pressure on Slough this year, given that everyone expected them at the end of last season to say, right, they're definitely going to be the team that is going to take Streatham's mantle? Because the pressure could take its toll and it quite fall away, and Streatham can just go about their business as you would expect. We expected, like when up here we had Solway, you'd think they'd have a poor off season or they didn't sign a strong squad, but then it's just the machine just gets going and you can never stop it.
No, absolutely. And I think that's something that Lucas Smittle is working quite hard on, is the mentality. And every time I speak to a Slough player, they all say what a difference Smiths has made to their career mentally, where all of that coaching is the first time when I spoke to Christian Moore, and I sort of said to him, like, well, mentally, how do you deal with stepping on the ice in front of 1,000 screaming fans and not freezing? And that's something that I think he actually helps a lot of those young players with. They've got the experience with the likes of Timo Lindgren and now Brandon Miles and Alex Cole. I really do think they're going to be a real top prospect this year. They got pretty close last year. They had a mad 70 seconds in the semi-final against Chelmsford, where they conceded 4 goals in 70 seconds. They couldn't really recover from it. But this year, I really do expect to see them up there.
Yeah,
if they do on the wayside, though, Chelmsford will be there waiting.
Yeah. I mean, I think the North's a bit different. We haven't had many players drop down. What we've got, or I've noticed for the last 2 seasons, is a lot of hungry youngsters coming up. The Blackburn Hawks this year have signed, I think, 3 GB under 18s this year just to pad out their roster. The Stars have brought younger players in from the Buccaneers and brought another young kid in from Scotland. Widnes have got a load of young, hungry kids from Scotland. So it'll be interesting to see how they go this year. So yeah, it hasn't really been players dropping down up in the North, but it's certainly hungry youngsters wanting to step up, and they want careers in ice hockey. They want to play their hobby for their careers. So it's certainly going to be interesting from that point of view for the North. One thing I was going to ask is, down south you get a lot of player movement. Like loyalty doesn't seem as strong down south. Like you say, a player's gone from Streatham to Slough. That's very rare up in the North. Is it just something that happens down the south with the close proximity of everybody?
I think it does. I mean, particularly the players that have moved between Slough and Streatham over the last few years, I think location does do a lot for it. No, I don't think anyone actually lives in Streatham that plays for Streatham. Southwest London's an incredibly expensive area.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So I think the guys that have moved to Slough, they do live closer to Slough. We've had similar when the Swindon Wildcats too have jumped into our league now after having a year out last year after the damage to the Link Centre. They announced their whole roster in one go when they announced they were coming back. And there was a lot of lads that have been travelling down from Swindon all the way down to Solent to play. But now that they've got that team back there, they cut that travel out, they go back. There's a bit of a triangle over here where I am in Essex of players that will go between Chelmsford, Romford and Invicta. and they'll kind of bounce between the three teams. And it's not. I don't think that there's a lack of loyalty with them. I think a lot of it just goes what makes their life a little bit easier, so they can
Yeah.
continue to play hockey because they all want to play. That's the sort of the main crux of it. And if it makes it a little bit easier for them to stay in Kent and play, or stay in Romford or stay in Chelmsford, then they'll do it. The thing with the hockey family is they're never booed when they come back.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get that. I mean, like, it's very rare for players to move from each club up here. I mean, we've just had Patrick Grigors sign for Whitley Warriors, but that wasn't a case of Whitley coming, speaking to Paddy and say, "We want you for us this year." His circumstances were he was a third import up in Scotland. Whitley were absolutely desperate for the D man. So fair play to the lad, and I'm absolutely buzzing for the kid that he's got a gig this year. I think one of the biggest moves recently, locally, is when we took Roland's Grithands from the Warriors. That was quite a big move. But the biggest move is up here is obviously probably between Blackburn, Widnes, Deeside, and that's kind of their little triangle. They were in an M56 or Cup, I think it was last year. But that's the only, again, you still don't see big player movements up in the north, which is a bit of a shame because everyone loves big signings and yeah, it just doesn't really happen as much as the north. Not as much as I see in the south. One thing I was going to say is is the new teams, because obviously you've got a few new teams this year. So there's a lot of teams down in the south. Is it going to dilute the talent or is it going to make the league stronger? Obviously, in 10 years' time, it'll make the league stronger, but is it going to make the league stronger right now?
I think what it will do for now is it will split the league into sort of three separate parts. I think you'll have your Strentford, Streatham, Slough, Chelmsford, possibly Invicta Dynamos. They're going to be the ones that are pushing for those top four slots. They're the ones I've predicted will finish the top four. I can't predict the order, but I think it'll be those four. Then you'll have Solent Devils will be right on top of the heels of that four as well. They've made some good additions considering the players that they lost. Liam Coleman and Steve Osmond, two of their top point scorers from last year, made their way back to Swindon. The next group is going to be the likes of your Romford Buccaneers, Cardiff Fire, Swindon Wildcats 2, Oxford City Stars, and MK Thunder, because the Oxford City Stars are at the start of an enormous rebuild where they lost virtually the entire roster from last year. So they've got to rebuild it. They've got a great coach in Mark Saunders, who's got the biggest contact book in hockey. So I'm sure they'll be able to rebuild it. But the teams like MK Thunder, Cardiff Fire, Swindon Wildcats, Oxford City Stars, they won't be judged on their results against Streatham, Chelmsford, Slough, and Invicta. They've got to beat the teams around them. Now, our playoff format has changed slightly. When it was first announced, it was going to be top six, going to split into two groups of three. Then they're going to play each other once and then get the semi-finals to see who's going to be the playoff final.
Yeah.
Just because of the lack of availability of ice time, that has been changed. So we'll be the same as it is up north, top eight, and then quarterfinals, semi-finals.
Yeah.
That's really opened the door for the likes of Cardiff and Swindon. Because now you've got two teams. MK Thunder have also had a massive rebuild under a new coach in Will Fry, and Oxford City Stars with their rebuild. Their modus operandi will be don't finish 10th.
Yeah.
Just don't finish bottom of the league. But having those two extra playoff places available now and having some real jeopardy for playoffs, Swindon and Cardiff are going to be looking at that thinking we need to be 7th and 8th at the very, very least. So it's going to make that end of the table incredibly competitive. And that's where, as you say, those young, hungry players, that's where they are. They're in that sort of bottom five of the table. Yeah. And that makes that hockey so interesting to watch.
Yeah, this year for us, we just have the one team in Division 1, which is Leeds Knights now have a development side gone straight into Division 1. Looking at the roster, again, I don't want to sound harsh, but they're not going to be a top four side at the moment. I mean, if they drop a few of those national leaguers in there, who knows what they can do, but they probably are going to be in that bottom area battling with the Widnes, Sheffield and your Nottinghams. But other than that, yeah. Come to your Division 2. Your Division 2 is a bit weird down here, isn't it? You have an East and West Division 2. Is that right?
The cup is kind of split that way to try and limit the travel because obviously they play each other once in the league as well in the Division 2. But that's an incredibly strong division. The likes of the Guildford Phoenix and the Haringey Huskies, they're two teams that it was rumoured would be making the step up.
Yeah, this year I heard I think there was 4 teams going to step up at one point, wasn't there?
Yeah, well,
was it the new Cardiff team being one of them as well?
Well, the Cardiff Canucks were rumoured to be the NIHL 1 team, And then I think it was discussed between them and the Fire that the Fire were probably in a better place to make that step now.
Yeah.
They were in the NIHL one, I think 2 to 3 years ago, and they dropped out quite early. So it's good to see them back there now. But yeah, the Canucks will be in the NIHL two. The Guildford Phoenix, they had a pretty good run last year. I think they ended up winning the league and the cup. But everyone just fell to the magic of Basingstoke in the final of the playoffs. But since the sort of start of the league and the league's been announced, we've actually lost Basingstoke Buffalo and the Streatham Blackhawks from that league. Basingstoke Buffaloes, obviously, I think everyone in the country knows the issues we've been having with the ice pad in Basingstoke.
Is it going to get fixed?
I believe it's planned to be fixed. They've been clever enough this time to not put a timescale on it. When they announced last year that the Buffalo was stepping away, they said it was just going to be for 1 year.
Yeah.
A closer sort of look into that would say that, their number one netminder, Jordan Lauday, this year has signed for Chelmsford for 2 years.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that we're going to see the Buffalo, the Bison rather again, with not in that close proximity anyway. If anything, I doubt we do see them again. I think the Buffalo will come back.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be the infrastructure left there to have a National League side.
Unless someone comes in with money and makes it that way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, because I think it's actually gone to the point of councils and stuff really getting involved in it, and it going even up to London for it to be spoken about properly. As it's a real sort of community hub for Basingstoke, and Basingstoke's been a large part of British hockey for a long, long time. So it's a very sad state to see the rink the way that it is. And
it's sad to see any rink go, really, to be honest. But hopefully they can get something sorted there. So we've all got a few plans tonight, so I won't keep you too much longer. As we do start into the season, is there any standout players for you this year that the North has to keep an eye on, just in case those games come around in playoff time?
Oh yeah, I can see when we get to sort of playoff time that the young legs I think are going to be the ones that sort of last towards the end. There's I think Streatham, Invicta, and Chelmsford are sort of pushing 25 as their average age. Everyone else is quite a lot younger than that. So for me, the Slough Jets, I think for me, Christian Moore at the Slough Jets is probably one of the best technical players that this league has got. He's incredibly fast, incredibly powerful. He's got a great hockey brain. But for some of the lads that have come down, just at the weekend, I saw Chelmsford sort of first pre-season fixture. Chelmsford have signed Callum Wells from the Romford Raiders. That man's incredibly comfortable on the puck.
Yeah, yeah.
Last year we had Lee Jameson sort of playing at the back of our D, who's Milton Keynes Lightning legend. And,
he's always a player that I like to. I've followed over the years. Big set lad and got good hands as well.
Yeah, he was like a cheat code at this level. So when it was announced that JMO wouldn't be coming back for this year, we knew we had to get a calming, adult, mature presence to play in that D. And I think Callum Wells is going to be exactly that. Mikey Power looks quite good as well. Someone else that's stepping down from the National League. I'm yet to see anything of Streatham. Slough had a pretty good overtime win against the Bristol Pitbulls over the weekend, but after some roster changes, took a little bit of a thumping in the second game. And a really interesting one this weekend is going to be the Invicta Dynamos playing the Romford Raiders in a Kent Essex Cup, a doubleheader this weekend. So that'll be a good little set for the Raiders, because the Raiders have also bought down from the National League. They've got the likes of Aaron Connolly, Dan Scott. They've bought Louis Colvin back from Leeds Knights, who had a year up there last year in the National. So yeah, some really, really competitive stuff. But I say for me, should we all meet at this mystery venue in April, I think it might well be the Slough Jets that we see there.
The Slough Jets. And who do you think they'll be in the final with? Obviously, they'll have their. Well, tell you what. Who do you think your four teams will? Who will the two South finals between at playoff weekend be between? You think?
Oh, I think the South one final could well, depending on how they finish in the league, could well be Slough and Streatham. I know Chelmsford are going to make a really big push for it. Winning the playoffs last year was fantastic for them. I think that I could see Chelmsford winning the cup this year. But yeah, I'd say Slough and Streatham probably in the South one final. The South two final, it's pretty hard to look beyond the Huskies and the Phoenix, especially now that the Fire and
nothing on those Canucks with those ex-NHLers in there.
I think that's going to be a really, really good It's good for their young kids, but honestly, because they only play each other once in that league is brutal.
Yeah,
You can't afford a slip up in that league. And if you want to sort of get near the top, and I just think Guildford and Haringey are so strong. They were almost prepared to step up this year. So this year they're going to be so strong in that league. I think they're going to be the two teams to beat.
fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time, Ben. Is there anything you want to know coming up the north? I mean, are you going to try and take in some north games, or is it just too much out of the realms for you as the season goes on?
It's not totally out of the realm of possibility. I've got family in the West Midlands, so if I find myself up there at the weekend, I could possibly take in a Solihull Barons game at
Yeah,
some point, or a Coventry Blaze NIHL game. As I said earlier, I'm quite tight with the guys over at 3-on-3. I know Scotty Finley's involved with the Coventry Blaze in the Elite League, so
yeah,
I would like to stick my face in there and have a little look at Brindley Caps this year.
fantastic. Well, absolutely thank you for your time.
No worries.
I'll certainly try and catch you up around maybe January time and see if any of these predictions come off and see who's that little bit closer to that playoff weekend. And who knows, we might even have a venue announced by then as well. Like I say, I am edging towards the north, not giving too much away.
We know nothing.
We know nothing. Well, absolutely. Thank you very much for all your time, Ben.
No worries. Thank you very much. Good luck with Stick to the Pod, and of course the brilliant Stars cast that you're doing as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, that's going really
Very
well.
well.
Stars Cast has taken off. Crazy, crazy. Craig does a lot of hard work on that. Yeah, stick to the pod. I'm still finding my way. Obviously, doing it myself, hosting it myself. The world of podcasting is time consuming. It's not a case of turn a computer on, switch a mic on, and off you go. There's certainly a lot more to that. And I am quite lucky where my partner does all my editing because I wouldn't even know where to start.
So not truly a one-man band.
Not quite, not quite. I do have a star editor. She'd be downstairs chuckling now. Well, thank you very much. So, stick to the pod fans. Here we are with another treat for you guys. Yes, my second ever guest, straight after my first guest. I actually have Graham Hamilton from nearly every podcast in the country. He gets about a bit. He's been on Zero Pucks Given, gives his helping hand on 4,000 and counting, and obviously is the main guy over at Hawks Talk. Is there anything else that you're on there as well, Graham?
I think you've just about covered it. I think that's
Just
everything. But stick to the pod now as well. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
completing
So
the
yeah,
set, aren't I?
yeah, you're doing very, 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 very well. So my thoughts, guys, was to get Graham on and just give you lot another opinion of NIHL North, really. You hear my voice week in, week out, and my opinions. And yes, they probably are slightly biased to the Stars. I am a Stars fan. So we might as well get a biased Hawks fan's view and see what he thinks and just to have a listen to see what their thoughts are over on their side or on the west side of the country. So Graham, hello, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
No, not a problem. So are you all ready for a new season of hockey?
Can't wait. This it's proper dragged on it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, on the signings front, it's been a very quiet, a very strange one. No one really wanted to show the hand this year with transfers or anything like that.
I know we were talking about it during the summer, weren't we? That it was sort of like eerily quiet, I think.
Yeah, I think every team was waiting for one team to make a move that didn't really come. Like, if you look at really around the squads, everyone's pretty much status quo.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I'd agree with that. I think the shock signing, I guess, was Alice Padelek going to the Lions. I think
More
if
so
you can
than
cut
Vlad's Volkanov's going to Hull.
that, yeah, that's another good one. To be fair, but that surprised me. I mean, you're going from playing National League 50 plus points to Hull, but it could be the difference for them, couldn't it? Really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's already got good chemistry there already with Hager and Beach from the Widnes days. Not that they set the league alight, but there was certainly a very dangerous forward line when they were together. I believe they went on to win the cup. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so that season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they beat Solway, didn't they, in Solway to win the Morley Cup that year.
not a bad
Which
team to beat to get there,
no,
is it?
no, yeah, yeah. So it just made Solway twice as hungry the year after, where they went and beat the Stars in the final. On penalty shots, though, on penalty shots, a lot closer than it was last year. So Yeah, what's the word on the street over on the west side of the country? What are people saying? Who are the teams to look out for? Who's looking forward to playing who?
I think I said it on another podcast, but I think my team to watch this season, I think, is going to be Hull. Um, I think it's strange with our league, isn't it? Because it proper fits into three packs, I think now, whereas previously, like we all know, Solway kind of run the show a bit. I think me and you had a conversation where it'd be interesting to see how us, yourselves, even Solihull would fare if Solway was still in the league, considering we've all three sides have made improvements over the past couple of seasons.
Yeah. I mean, I think the purpose of that conversation was like Solway would only have one tough game every other week. But this time, if you're playing Whitley one night, Stars the next, and then the weekend after they've got the Barons and then the Hawks, it's a much different prospect of what they've had over the years. But obviously, they went on to bigger and better things, and they'll certainly be an interesting watch as they head into their second season in the National League.
Definitely. Like I was saying, our league, it splits into three packs for me. You've got your main contenders, which there's no denying. It's the Stars, yourselves, us, and Solihull. I think they're your top three. Whatever order you want to put that in, I think that's a fair comment.
But we all know it's Stars, Barons, Hawks, right?
I don't know. Listen, it could go anyway. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, but I'd go Hawks, Barons, Stars, but I'm have to be proven
Yeah, I
wrong, I guess.
mean, no, the Hawks have certainly put themselves in that window just to the last quarter of the season, probably from the cup semi-final, where
I think so.
you hit some great momentum. Everything fell in place for you, and you were absolutely the form team coming from that semi-final, and obviously heading into this season with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and we've maintained a huge chunk of our roster, which, like you'll know yourselves from rebuilding from COVID, keeping a core group together is so beneficial in this sport. And that chemistry, like you say, building it up over time, it's vitally important.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit in a minute. Who's the biggest signing for Hawks this year? Is it Ben Keddy or Adam Barnes?
Do you mean like retaining?
Yeah. Who's the biggest signing? Who's the key name out of them two to keep this? I know you kept them both, but
Oh,
who would you say is the biggest component?
oh, what a question. Fair play. That is a fantastic question. I'm gonna go with Adam Barnes just with the fretty poses.
He's the X factor, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's a cheat code, isn't he?
Yeah,
If you're
he's.
playing on
This is what
NHL.
I try and tell to people like how good he is. Everyone says, well, he's dropped out. It doesn't matter. He was a top 10 player in the National League. He was a game winner.
100%.
He was a game winner in the National League. So what's he brought to our division? But you've probably got to be happy with Ben Keddy, probably the number one guy between the pipes in the division this year.
I'd say so. Laverick a close second. The credit where it's due. He stood on his head a few times last season. But yeah, I'd back Ben Keddy. I think it's no secret I was a fan of Thomas Brown. I'm not too sure if he was a fan of me, but fantastic netminder. He was the best in the league, hands down, last season, and I think that is a big loss for you. I think. Don't get me wrong, the goal scoring threat the Stars have is it's impressive, and just adding Conor McNulty just solidifies that even more. But I think Keddy would be the best netminder this season, and he's definitely going to get tested. So
Yeah, and obviously on the topic of the Hawks, we might as well. You've added, is it four GB under 18s this year? Was it
yeah,
under 18s
for
or under
them,
20s? So
some under, I think they're all under 18. I think Noah Kariainen's probably the standout one. He's already scored a goal for the Storm in the exhibition games. Darius Borthwick, he's on a freeway with Bradford, ourselves, and the Steel Dogs. So he's obviously no slouch as well. Looks really impressive in training. One thing I picked up watching Dara was he listens all the time. He's always listening to people's advice and stuff. You can just tell someone's hungry to learn.
yeah.
I think he's going to be impressive this year. Liam Hine as well. Bailey Thomas, yes, 4GB lads. It's exciting. It really is exciting.
Yeah, so let's try and move it away from Blackburn and Billingham because obviously they're our clubs. We could talk about them until we fell asleep probably. Um, so in my opinion, it will be them two teams that are 1 and 2. And I know we play each other straight up this coming weekend, but I
What an
don't think
opener,
it's
though. What an
yeah,
opener.
exactly what I think the fixture gods were looking down. Well, I don't know if they're looking down on us as fans, but they were looking down the league going, "Here, guys, have this one." But I don't think we'll learn too much from that game straight off. But it's certainly a quick one to put a marker down to get a win. But I want to look at more of the other teams. I know Leeds Knights. Today is Wednesday the 4th, so I don't know when the recording will go out, probably tomorrow. Announced 5 more players today, I believe it was. What do we expect from a Leeds Knights team?
It, a few weeks ago, they were a really unknown component. I think they had like 5 or 6 players on elite prospects. So to look at, it was a bit like what's going to happen with them because there was no announcements. I found it confusing that they don't have their own social media. They're utilizing the Leeds Knights social media when the operation in Swindon, which is obviously a mirror image,
Yeah.
they have their own social media, which I'd found confusing, but. Um, they're obviously going to utilize two ways at some point because that's the entire point of the team. The signings that they've announced, Matthew Barlow, which we both know is capable of putting some points on the board.
Yeah, the one I like the most is it Fritz Heinzel
Yes.
from Sheffield. Now I spoke about that kid a lot last year, and I think he's a fantastic pickup. And I think I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not sure how he works import wise, if he is an import or not with his age and stuff. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised if he's not an import if he does step up to that Leeds Knights senior roster.
It's a very good call.
He's a talent.
I think with playing for Sheffield, it kind of went not under the radar, but it's hard to stand out when you're in that roster because unfortunately, to not to put a bad word on it, I guess they were the whipping boys, them in Nottingham, and they have been for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a standout signing for them, definitely. And I think Owen Dell as well from the Invicta Dynamos. I think he's played GB as well. I could be wrong though.
Yeah.
So, and I think Dylan Harcourt, who used to play for the Hawks, and he's been playing for the OTS. I think he's signed at Leeds as well.
Yeah, I believe I saw that name come out today.
And obviously Bailey, is it Pierre or Per or
Billy Pear, yeah,
yeah,
he's on a 2-way. He's definitely on a 2-way with the national side, and that's what I mentioned with Ben on my previous chat. Is it the Leeds situation is very interesting. They could end up being whipping boys themselves, but if they decide to chuck some 2-ways in and they put in the likes of Ian Gallagher, Finn Braid, and Harrison Walker,
yeah,
straight away you look at like, well, hold on, they could probably win a cup. You know what I mean? Like just them three alone, they're going to make them a serious team. So it'll be interesting to see how Leeds do go ahead with that roster. It's a bit on the light side for the point what I thought what they wanted it for. I
yeah,
literally
I
thought
agree with that.
I literally thought they wanted it as a we're short tonight, we're taking a guy. And I don't think there's too many of those in that current roster. Maybe over a couple of years, that might change because it wasn't really full of their under 18 side either. There wasn't a lot of their own under 18s stepping
No,
up.
I noticed that.
So yeah, but I noticed you didn't mention the whipping boys earlier on of Sheffield and Nottingham Lions. So Nottingham Lions, that roster is a bit different.
Very, very different. Well, there's one noticeable face that isn't there, which we've both spoke about him like off the record between ourselves that he's a talent, isn't he? Zach Yokoyama, and it's a big loss for them.
Yeah.
It the Alice Padalet thing, people might say he's a replacement for him, but is he really? Like you don't know, do you?
Yeah, he's 45-year-old, and this division is tougher than people think.
No, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't get the credit it deserves. Our level, it's frustrating sometimes. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, obviously they've got a few new faces in there. Signed a few. Did I see Ross Venus's name?
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, his name's been mentioned up at Nottingham as well. So maybe not quite the basement dwellers.
No, I think they'll have a better season this year. Keeping the likes of Tyler Somerton and Toby Fisher, that's smart business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And obviously the netminding situation. They've always had decent netminders in Nottingham.
Yeah, they have to be fair.
And with a little bit of a stronger side in front of them, they certainly should be a lot harder to beat on their own ice, at least.
Yeah, I think if I was pushed to put them in a position, I'd have them seventh, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finished sixth.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the league's a bit different this year. We have got the 10 teams, so two will miss out on the playoffs. So as we talk about the league structure there, I mean, it's worth mentioning, I know it didn't affect you guys as much. It affected, I think it was only D-side, Solihull and Billingham with the three import rule. Obviously teams have had to cut back there. It's a good move for the league. Is it good move for the clubs and the fans?
It's always nice to get an import signing that's capable of putting loads of tucks away, isn't it? And it gives it a bit of razzle dazzle, I guess, is a good way
Unless
of
you're
putting
Whitley
it.
signing Patrick Britton's.
I think one thing I liked about the change in the rule was that you could have both imports on the ice at the same time, which we
Yeah.
haven't had previously. I think that was a
No,
good
last year we were
call.
allowed, weren't we?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
when
yeah.
it was previously
Yeah,
two.
yeah, yeah.
I think that was a good call. Did I like having three? Well, I mean, we didn't utilize it. There was jokes about Dom Osmond putting his kit on every now and again, but didn't materialize, obviously.
Yeah.
I think two's the right number, I think.
Yeah, I do feel that. I know I was devastated to lose Paddy Grigors. He's a great lad. Believe it or not, a great defenseman as well. But out of Ian Brown and Rolly Grithands, unfortunately, he was the one that was going to make way
Yeah,
for Billingham. Not sure how it's been done down in Solihull. If they've kept obviously Otterson
yeah,
and is it Haid?
I
Danny
think so,
Haid?
yeah.
Yeah, and obviously D side have gone with Peter Vlusiak and the name I can't even try and pronounce, so I'm not gonna. But he's a young kid though, and he's not an import.
Yeah, no,
Is it
I don't think he can.
Daniels? I can't even say it. I'm not even gonna try,
No,
to be
I'm not
honest.
going to try and butcher that either.
Yeah. Um,
Petr Velusiak, obviously quite familiar with him being an ex-Hawk. Very nice guy. Could argue it's a wasted import spot being his age,
yeah.
but he still carries a goal threat. I mean, I chirp him all the time and tell him he's average, but
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, he's gonna have a lot of responsibility at D side this year. No Andrew McKinney for them.
yeah, 100%. One signing I've not seen anything of is Brody Jessens for the Dragons. Just while we're touching on them, he
Yeah.
was my standout player for the Dragons last year.
For me, it was Ross Kennedy, but he's just
Oh, unbelievable.
He's just Ross Kennedy, and for me, he's a National League player. When
100%.
when he's on, same as Jared Dickinson. I think there was no difference between the performances of D side when he was playing, obviously, and when he wasn't playing due to his ongoing issues with the incident that mad the season really.
Yeah. I think there'll be a strong element this year. D side, Jared Dickinson. I do like Jared. He's a good player. I've always found him to be quite versatile and a bit of a utility man. He seems to be able to play in most roles and most positions, which is good at our level. To be fair, you don't get many players that can do that.
Yeah, totally agree. And obviously, two young, very good netminders that we saw a little bit of at D side last year. Obviously, I think Matt Crowell went down with an injury, which was a big loss for D
Yeah,
side. But they found these two gems of two youngsters who are very, very good and have also got a bright future in the game.
yeah, definitely. And Matt Croyle, he's gone down to Sheffield, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's going to face a lot of rubber there, I think.
He's definitely going to get tested, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think he's on holiday. I think that's why he didn't play against Nottingham. Scarlett obviously was in between the pipes for that one. I don't think she had a bad performance, to be fair.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned the game at the weekend just there that McLaren missed, the first league game of the season, and the first team to gain 3 points this year in another change by
Yes,
the league. The Nottingham Lions sit at top with their 3 points. Another good change for the league or not?
I think so. I think it makes it more exciting to you've got that extra point to play for, and with how tight this league, like, I cannot stress that enough to people. How tight this league is going to be. Them extra points are going to be so vital.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I said a lot last year is Billingham never got rewarded for that 16 game run they went on. Now, if they do that with the 3 points, they get them rewards. They went on a burner that not even the fans or the team expected. They went through a run that no one could touch them.
Yeah,
We were that good and didn't really get the rewards. So that was in that sense, it does keep it close. but then the team winning didn't get the rewards. But down on the other end, the bottom, where Nottingham pulled out a win or Sheffield pulled out the win, they didn't really get the rewards either,
That's true.
because of the situation it was. One team we haven't mentioned on who's probably had the most drama this summer, the Widnes Wild.
It's been a bit of a gong show, hasn't it, really? Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
I don't think there was a day in June where a player wasn't announced as leaving.
No, no.
It was absolutely madness.
It was a revolving door, but not in the way you'd want it to go.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, lately, a little bit lately, it has been the other way where players are coming in. Noticeable, they kept a few of the lads from up in Scotland, which was a big thing
Yes,
for them.
I think so. Yeah, the Caledonian contingent.
Yeah,
Um, Joey Coulter's the big loss for them, along with Matt Barlow, isn't he, and Kyle Carruth as well. But they've
yeah,
solidified, like you say, them connections with these Scottish teams and giving these young SNL players some valuable ice time. Ice time's important, but it's also the level of ice time, isn't it? I guess the quality of it.
yeah, absolutely. So again, obviously, we've touched on a couple of changes that the league have made this year, the import, the points, and the main reason I had Ben on my podcast this week wasn't just to tell people about the South, but there was a reason to tell people about the South. We've got a change in playoff format this year. We're going to see the South at national playoff finals in
Yeah.
a venue to be confirmed, probably in the North to start off with. Nobody knows yet. But so what's your thoughts on those changes on the playoffs?
At first, I'll be honest, I didn't really know what to think.
Oh, hang on.
Oh,
I was gutted at first. I love Sheffield this year.
oh no, it was great, wasn't it? It
It's
was
the
great.
best playoffs that I'd been to.
And as a Stars fan, for you to say that after losing in the final, that says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people who know me go, I'm not really there for the hockey. I think I spent a lot of time talking to you.
You did.
Yeah, I was sat with a few Telford fans for half an hour, chatting to them and just talking to them because obviously you only see names on social media, and it's hard to judge the character.
Yeah,
So
that's
obviously
true.
when I know Telford and the Buccaneers had a bit of to do last season, and I stuck my 50 pence worth in somewhere. But obviously when you can sit down next to someone and explain it a lot different, it's a lot better. And I'll probably gain 3 or 4 new hockey fans from Telford now, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, that's something that's beautiful about ice hockey, that we don't have this like football culture mentality where you do feel comfortable to go and sit with other fans and have a conversation. I mean, where we were in Sheffield, we were right next to the Solihull fans, and it was a very tense
And
game.
D-side.
Who? Sorry, Bebo. Yeah. Well, I mean, we was
Unfortunately, Billingham did have to be kept away from the Warriors because that might not have been pretty.
no that was a good security and strategic move. I think that was definitely thought out, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, back to the new format of the playoffs. Is it better to have a playoff national champion? Are you just
I
saying
think so.
yes because you won the playoffs last year?
Well, we're going to win it again this year.
Oh, okay.
I've said it now.
I think Stretton might have something to say about that.
Oh no, I know. Well, they're going to be a wagon this year, I think, as well, aren't
Yeah.
they? I like it, and I think at our level, it's one question that we were calling out well before COVID. I think to find that answer out, and now
Yeah.
we've got it for we've had it for a couple of years with the league.
Yeah, which will
winners.
maintain, which will stay in Coventry as well.
Yeah, and also the playoffs as well. I mean, if one team wins the league and gets to the playoff final, that's a lot of national level hockey, I guess,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Are you happy with the way it's laid out? I mean, you're going to see a South final 1 and 2, and you're going to see a North final 1 and 2, and obviously then you'll have your big nationals on the Sunday. So
I
is that the
think
best
so.
way to do it, or would it be the best to mix it up completely and have your semi-finals against the South?
I never thought about it that way. That's an
And then
interesting
you could
take.
have a dominant final. You could have 2 teams in the South in the final, or 2 teams in the North in the final.
I never thought about it that way. That's a very interesting take. Hmm. I do like this format, the way they've gone for. For me, it's win-win because it gives something us hockey fans that have been around the sport a while, something we've wanted for a while.
Yeah.
It gives clubs an extra gate as well
With
with
the
the semi-finals.
semi-finals, home and away, yeah.
Yeah, it's win-win for
Which
everybody,
would be
isn't it?
great. Which I mean, touch wood, it might happen. Billingham could get Whitley, Blackburn could get D-side. You imagine as them as two playoff semi-finals. You imagine what the gates would be like. Isn't that what
No,
hockey is all about as well?
100%. I mean, the semi-final, sorry, the final of the League Cup when we come up to Billingham, that building for that game was packed, and the atmosphere was great, and also the home leg at Blackburn. If teams can earn that, putting that revenue into every club, it's only a positive, isn't it?
Yeah, because obviously the Bills are only going to go up.
Yeah, well, especially in a Planet Ice venue.
Yeah, yeah. So as we come towards the end of this, I'm gonna stick you on the spot a little bit. Players to watch this year.
Do you want one from each team,
Yeah,
or
you can go for that and then give me an overall.
I think for you guys, I'm really you know I'm a fan of Tommy Sprague, and I've spoke to you loads about him like off this.
Best
It's
team in the
between
league.
it's between him and Ian Brown for me, ones to watch.
Oh, I'm
I mean,
intrigued there.
the obvious ones are obviously your Grittans and your Chris Sykes, but if we're going for ones to watch that I think that are going to improve the most, I'm going to go Tommy Spraggan. I'm going to put
I
my
actually
cards
thought
on the
you might. I
table.
thought you might have went one step out of the box there and went with Conor McNulty.
He's already legit in my eyes. I think
Yeah,
he's yeah.
it was
That
amazing.
is such a solid signing.
The way he slotted in straight for a derby weekend as well, and to have 6 points on a derby weekend, the way he just sat in, and the way he spoke after the game on Sunday, I was like, I watched it on Starcast. That was the first
Yeah.
time I watched it, even though I was on it, and I was like, kid's the deal. Kid is the deal. Yeah,
No,
so
I
you've got
know.
with Tommy Spraggan of Billingham, Blackburn next. We're going order.
Blackburn. Noah Kariainen for me. One to watch. How
Just on
much?
that one, is he going to stay the full season?
That was my next point. How much we're gonna have him, I really don't know.
Me personally, I've seen Telford's roster. He slots onto that D quite easy.
I agree with that. If I had to pick another player apart from him, I mean the obvious one is the King of Blackburn, Adam Barnes, but I'm trying to stay away from the
Yeah, no,
obvious
no,
ones.
yeah, totally get that.
Um, I'm gonna go with Darius Sporforth, I think.
Yeah,
One
one
to
to
watch.
watch. Yeah, yeah. Another one from the famed Bradford Academy.
Oh no, they're stacked, aren't they? There's something in the water there.
Yeah, yeah.
The Kieran Brown effect. So who have we got next alphabetically? D side, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Ross Kennedy's the obvious one. Um, oh, oh man, this is hard.
It is. It is.
Uh, um, Oliver Booth, netminder.
Yes, yes. When I was doing my spreadsheets yesterday and doing my ins and outs and that and putting my rosters together, when I was doing the D-side roster, he was one that I think stood out massively. I was
Yeah,
mightily impressed with him last year of the highlights that I saw of him.
yeah, unbelievable. Hull Jets, Ethan Daintiff probably. Vlad would
Ethan?
obviously be the obvious one, but I think
Yeah.
Ethan, he impressed me every time I watched him play the Hawks. Jacob Brammer's another shout. He went a bit under the radar for the Scimitars last season. But I mean, these are the obvious ones, isn't there? Like Reece Edwards and Alex Kent and people like that. And
Yeah.
Richard Hagger's a
Yeah,
staple. But
yeah. For me again, seeing how good he was against us last year, one I'll be watching in my eye on is Zach Brown. What a
oh yeah,
netminder!
unbelievable, yeah,
What a netminder! What a netminder! But goes under the
definitely.
radar against the Tom Browns, your Ben Keddys. Doesn't really get mentioned with them, but an absolute fantastic talent.
He's definitely top three, top four netminders in this league now, I think, Zach Brown. It's where he slots in against Jacob and things like that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I think Jacob he showed what he could do at playoffs this year. So it'll be certainly interesting to see how he goes this year with the full-time job.
No, no. So Ethan for the Jets. Oh, for the Leeds Knights, it's either Fritz Heinzel or Owen Dell for me. But I'm gonna go Owen Dell. Yeah, I'm gonna go Owen Dell. Oh God, this is so hard.
Good pick. Good pick.
I feel like I should be wearing a suit or something like that. But who's next? The Lions. Toby Fisher, I think.
Yeah,
One
again,
to watch.
Yeah, he was a name that stood out when putting the rosters together.
Yeah, I think smart bit of business keeping him, Tyler Summerton. They've had a decent core for a while, the Lions, and one thing I always respected was they just turned up every week, even if they
Yeah,
were going to get a bit
played
of
the
a
same way as
kicking.
well. Played the same
Yeah,
systems. Didn't change a single thing, whether it was 1-0 to them or 10-0 to the opposition. Played the
yeah.
same systems. I mean, for me, with Nottingham, I know he's 45-year-old, but you wonder what has to be Paddy to see how he does in that team.
Oh,
Padel,
100%.
Padel, it's certainly going to be very interesting. Now, still don't have the goal scorers from Sunday, so I don't even know if he was
Yeah,
on the score sheet or not on
yeah.
Sunday.
He scored, and I think he got one or two assists. I think
Yeah,
he definitely got a goal and one apple that I know of.
but his hunger is going to is the interest as well. His hunger is going to be like going to Whitley Bay on a Sunday night, going to Billingham on a
Of
Sunday
course, it
night,
is.
going to Blackburn on a Sunday night. That's when he'll be. That's when people want to see the best of him. But that's when he's what's the word? He's get up and go if it's still there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, he's not going to be playing in front of big crowds in Nottingham. So playing in the Bay and up in Billingham and at Blackburn, um, you're going to get them crowds. Even D side, to be fair, they're getting all
Yeah,
right attendance.
yeah.
Like you said, they're the games he's
I
going to
think
be up
I
for.
think Leeds could be very busy this year. I think their season ticket holders will have a keen eye on the second team when they're away.
Do you think is it? Have you heard anything if they're doing anything with the tickets with the Knights too or anything?
Not a thing at the minute. Not a
It's,
thing, but
it's
it's
such a
common
missed
sense.
opportunity. Yeah, of
It's
course
common
it's
sense.
it.
It's
If they
common
don't do it,
sense.
it's a missed opportunity. Because
Yeah.
what's Hull? Is it £8 or something?
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to know what the pricing structure is going to be like for
They
the
might have
Knights
even
too.
stuck it up to a tenner this year. I can't remember.
Yeah,
But that's still nothing compared to Black Billingham. But
I know. It's just the ice cost, isn't it?
yeah.
Who's next? The Scimitars. Oh, there's a few for them, isn't there? That are on two ways with the Steel Dogs. There's
Yeah.
like Deneko,
Yeah,
um,
he's the most of.
Dancer.
Yeah, he's the obvious one for me. Obviously, Dancer got a big goal, but again, it's a netminder for me. I'm interested to see how Matt Coyle goes with a
Yeah,
different type of team in front of him.
that's true. What again? It's hard. Like you'll know yourself, it's hard not to be biased. Marcus Facker, he was someone that went under the radar for the Hawks for me a little bit. He was a solid. He's a depth forward. He's never
Yeah,
breaking into your top six.
it's always good to see how players get on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when they're
former
given
players.
another opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like I know I'm forever watching what I hate the Leeds organization. I have my reasons why, but the first thing I do is I go and see how Finn Braden's getting on straight away.
what a talent that lad
Yeah,
is.
and I still do it with the Steelers. I'll jump on and see how Dowie's getting on.
Yeah,
And I'll always do it about the lads from Billingham and where they go and how they get on.
yeah.
I'll always do that.
You build friendships with some of the players
Yeah,
at our level because I suppose they're a little bit more accessible, aren't they?
yeah,
I guess.
yeah,
I think Aiden Dance is the one I'd go for with the Scimitars if I had to push to be picked one. I guess. I mean, Tyler Nixon would definitely have been in with a shout, but I think he's gone to Romford, hasn't he?
yeah. He's announced that he's left, hasn't he? Yeah,
I think he might have gone to Romford. Again, I could be wrong. I'm sure someone will like at me in the comments or something like that.
yeah,
Um, the Barons. The obvious one is obviously the Super Swede, isn't it? I guess.
yeah. I picked mine on a chat with someone the other night, so I'm interested to see where you go with this.
Um, if I'm not someone that I liked last season that goes under the radar a little bit for the Barons, which it's hard to see past the Otterson line, isn't it? Really, let's be honest with the Mulcahy or Mulcahy brothers as well.
Yeah,
But
the line.
Charlie Webb,
Charlie, I went with Alex White.
yeah, great player.
I went with Alex White. Very impressive last season.
Yeah, I I think Richard Crow's a loss for them. I think.
That's massive. That
Yeah,
is massive. He was like the top point scorer on that
yeah.
roster, behind the line, I should say, behind the line.
Oh yeah, great player. I mean, I don't know much about us. Is it Australia he's gone to? I don't know about the standard over there, but I
Yeah, well,
think
I think wasn't he going out there like to try? It wasn't just hockey related. I think he was going out to
yeah.
have a year out there anyway. And obviously, if he can hockey, he'll hockey.
Why not? I guess. Well, do it. You
Yeah,
might as well do it in the sunshine if you're going to do it, aren't
yeah,
you? Who's next? Oh, your best mates.
yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of good shouts for them. I mean, they've not a bad roster. They're it's hard to say because the similar ages to me, like mid-30s, but they're an aging roster, aren't they? But
Yeah,
Ethan Reed's someone that I'm excited to see.
All right.
Um, I think Ben spoke very highly of him when I've spoke to him about it. Kyle Ross as well, maybe.
He's the one for me. Love that. I'd have him in Billingham like that. I love Carlos. I think he was the best player over the weekend for them as well.
Yeah,
Weekend just
yeah,
gone. He was the best player. But the one I have to watch out for is I have to see how Paddy settles in there. It'd be interesting to
yeah.
see how he goes, see how the fans take it to him. Because I can guarantee by the end of October, a lot of Billingham fans are saying, "I told you so."
Yeah, because to be fair, he has received a lot of hate online, which there's a difference between banter and how we're going to swear then, but
Yeah. No,
but
you're fine. You're
there's a
fine.
difference between banter and being a dickhead. Like
Yeah.
there is a difference in that, and I think they'll be actually they'll turn around halfway through sort of October and go, actually, do you know what? He's all right.
He's the best
He's
lad off the ice as well. He
I
is
can
the
imagine
best
he
lad
is.
off the ice. Yeah.
Most Latvians are. I mean, they like a drink, don't they? That black balsam, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Oh, have you ever tried that
No, and I think I'll stay away from it. Yeah.
lethal stuff? But he's a stay-at-home D man, isn't he? So, like you say, it's interesting to see where he fits into that side. And
Yeah, and to be fair, on the Stars cast, I came out and said that they need him more than he needs them. From what I seen at the weekend, I'm only
yeah,
judging it on that weekend. They obviously lost two D-men as well, which is heartbreaking. 2 weeks before the season starts to lose two D-men because they don't grow on trees up in North. I can tell you that for sure. It's not like down south where every club's on top of each other.
no, no.
If you're pulling a player in, it's 2 hours drive, bare minimum, bare
That,
minimum. You're pulling
that
in.
that was the thing with the lead thing, wasn't it? Like a lot of people were concerned because the pool up here at our level isn't very big.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, after this weekend, I mean, you got a good look at them. Where do you think they're going to sit this season?
On last weekend, sixth, fifth, sixth.
I
But
think I've,
but then
yeah,
I'm a stat believer as well. Holland, Edgar, they aren't bad players. They score goals, they score points, and they will do that again. Before they both retired, I think between them it was like 110 points. That's that's
no slouch. Yeah,
yeah, that's as good as anybody else in the division.
I
So
think they'll finish sixth. I agree with that. I think D-side and Hull, whatever combination in fourth and fifth, I think that's where they'll
yeah.
finish. I think.
But
I'm
also
still,
I'm gonna say it, if they do sign the signing that they're meant to sign.
yeah.
Obviously, I think I've mentioned him. Again, it's not my job to do it. I don't want to get anyone into trouble, but he's a big power forward who'll score goals. He always has done.
I'm still waiting at Whitley for Tony Han now. He's had all his heart procedure and stuff to just suit up just for one game, just to see if he can still do it. Get some tape on his pads and stuff. It'll be right.
Yeah,
Who have we got next? The Widnes Wild. Bottom dwellers for me. I think I've got them finishing last. But then again, that was before some of the signings they've made. Ones to watch. I like Damani James, but it's Owen Ray, I think, for me.
took the words right out of my mouth. Owen Ray for me as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless again we spoke off air about it at another time. If the import comes in that they're meant to sign, it's like wow,
That changes things for them, but I don't think in
makes
the
them harder
grand
at home to beat at home.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
You took the words out of my mouth. I can't see them doing much better than sort of if he does come in eighth, because when we're not a one player league anymore. But
that cup final was pretty one player.
well, to be fair, I think what was it, 11 points he got in that game?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't even argue with that.
Yeah, but no, I totally. And but I'll come to another question about that later on. See if you see how you go on that one.
But yeah, my one to watch Owen Ray for the Wild.
Yeah, that's another great shout. I would pick the same league wide. Then who would be the one guy that everyone needs to pick up the phones on a Monday morning after a season to see how they've done?
Again, it's easy to say the likes of Adam Barnes, Otterson,
Yeah,
Grittans to a degree. Oh, I want to say Josh Crawley.
yeah, very good shout. I can see why. Yeah, he'd be one. But for me, I'm gonna go Conor McNulty. I couldn't believe the way that
Well, To be fair, he's not far behind. He's a
Yeah,
superb player.
yeah, an absolute fantastic talent. And if we can have him more often than not, which we'll see how that goes. For his development wise, I think we need to have him more than what Kilmarnock do.
I agree with that, definitely.
But yeah, absolutely fantastic talent to go.
Have you ever been to that rink at Kilmarnock?
No.
I've not been, but I've seen pictures of it. The corners are
Yeah, you
literally,
guys, you guys had a competition with them last year, didn't you?
yeah, the Northern League. I didn't go, but talking to some of the lads, the corners were like it was like a ledge. It was almost like raised up. It was like a square rink, they were saying.
Yeah,
So, and
I'd
let's be honest, the standard of our league versus the SNL, our league is better. The SNL's
yeah.
not that far behind though, to be fair.
Uh,
But
I would say it is when I was having this conversation. I don't know where I was, whether it was at Stars training or it was the games over the weekend. Scotland's under 20s is far superior to what our England under 20s are.
yeah, I agree.
Like 20 down to about 15, that age group, 15 to 20. I think Scotland pisses all over England at the moment, to be honest,
No,
in that development circle. And obviously a lot of will go down to likes of Martin Grubb, Jamie Thompson, and the
yeah.
Solway Sharks as a whole. They've had a lot of these kids through their system, one way or another. But Scotland are just producing absolute talent from the age of 15. The current crop of 15 to 20-year-olds anyway.
One thing that was exciting for us last season was the Northern League, and obviously, like you know, I've got a lot of Scottish family myself, so I've always a bit of a soft spot for these Scottish teams. But that Northern League was exciting for me just to see these teams that we've not seen for a long time. I mean, you'll know yourself, like going up and playing 5 years ago and
Yeah.
things like that. This, I think we put some of them in the shop window. I think that's a fair
Journey's home wasn't nice, I can tell you.
Oh no, no. Like, if you've got beer inside you, at least you can get a bit of a kip up way back, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think we put some of them in the shop window, and I remember looking at stats before the season, obviously because I did a bit of the commentary last season, and like looking at the stats like Innes Gallagher and people, Torrin Anderson, people like that, and it was
Well,
frightening.
I have nudged our staff about Torrin Anderson. He plays at the same club as Conor McNulty, so why not?
That if you could get him as well, that potentially changes things. I think.
Yeah.
He linked up superbly with Innes Gallagher, but so I did wonder how he'd fare on his own, but he proved going at Leeds he's not had much trouble there, has he?
Yeah, no, he stood out very, very well again. Um, so I think we just about covered nearly everything. Um, we go this weekend. There's one game on the Saturday, a few on the Sunday.
Yeah,
Obviously, I'll probably see you on the Sunday, no doubt.
you will indeed.
So what are your season predictions? I want to ask you for a top four.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you for cup final finalists,
Ooh.
and then I'm going to ask you for playoff finalists. So who's going to meet the team, playoff finalists, and who's going to meet who in the Sunday final, North v South.
Uh,
So
um,
we'll go with your top four.
top four. This is gonna get clipped.
No,
um,
we will cover it again in January.
um, mid-season review. Right, Blackburn winning it.
Oh,
I
you're
should
going in
have.
order. Okay,
I
that's
should.
fine.
I should have done it the other way. I know. I've
You
realised
should have
that
just
now.
you should have just picked four teams to finish the top four because that's what I'm going to do.
All right. Yeah, I'm
Well,
gonna go
you've
for
put
it.
your shirt on the line now. You've got Blackburn one.
Come on, Dom, help me out. Um, s- I did have Solihull being second, but for me, that McNulty signing changes things. But I'm gonna have to stick with what I said because I've already said it previously. So Blackburn one, Barons two, Billingham three. Fourth is hard for me. It's between the Jets and the Dragons, but with that Vlad signing, I think the Jets will take fourth.
Does he have availability issues?
See, I've heard this. I mean, there's lots of rumors flying about. I mean, this is always a good time for rumors, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've heard rumors that he's only going to play home games, that he's only going to play
Well, they're hard enough to beat
a
at home,
certain.
so they might as well.
Oh, I know that's one thing that went under the radar, didn't it, last season?
Yeah.
Their performance at home was unbelievable.
Yeah, didn't he only lose 3 league games at home?
Yeah,
I think Hughes did it. Stars did it to win the league.
yeah, he did.
And
What a
then
way to win it, though.
and yeah, Tom Brown outstanding. Was it the Barons? Did the Barons go there and win? And that
I
was
think
it.
I think so, yeah.
And I think that was it. So there you go. If you're only
Um,
losing to the top three, then fair play.
I think that's my top four then. So Hawks, Barons,
Yeah.
Stars, and Jets.
Cup final with the way it's working with the group situation.
Um, I think it's got to be us and yourselves, to be honest.
Another cup final with us and yourselves.
I'm going all in. I think.
Yeah. Oh, Blackburn clean sweeping this year. Is this the
Oh,
fan? Is this the fan talking or the head talking?
well, that's a very good question. The main game in that qualifying group for the cup for us is against the Barons, isn't it? And probably the Jets as
You've
well.
got Hull as well. I think Stars side is quite easy. It should be Billingham and Whitley. Should.
Yeah,
Good.
I agree with that. Yeah, you got the Dragons in there.
So I believe though it's gone A and B. A1 plays B2. Is that right?
Yeah,
And A2 plays B1 in the semi-finals. That's how it's
I
happening.
I think so.
That's
I
how I
think
think.
so. I'm trying to
Uh,
remember the groups now. So, is it yourselves? Obviously, the Stars, Dragons, Warriors, Sims, and Lions.
Something like that. Yeah, it's quite
And
a.
because I think ours is the Barons, the Jets, Leeds, and the Wild. I think again, someone will at us in the comments, won't we, if
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
wrong?
I should have been more professional and had it up on the screen.
Um, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Barons versus the Stars in the final, but I'm gonna have to back Blackburn. I
Yeah,
think.
I was saying to someone, I think the Barons might be a bit sore from last year
Yeah,
because obviously they got all those injuries and suspensions, and then along came the Hawks. I think obviously the Barons are having a great season right up until that moment. You hit them right at the right time, just like you hit Stars at the right time as well, and everything just fell into place for you. So I think Barons could be looking at that cup next year or this year, I should now say.
yeah. I'd still have to back Blackburn. So, and I think out of that pack in your group, I think you're the strongest. I don't think anyone else can grumble with that
Yeah,
really. Close second would be the Dragons, but I think it'll be us and you in the final again. And to be fair, wouldn't that be a good sort of like record setter or something like that, or
yeah,
bit of revenge possibly for yourselves? In the playoff final. Oh man, this is hard, isn't it? Because it's hard to work out like the way the
yeah, yeah,
fixtures would work out as
yeah,
well. I'd like to play either yourselves or the Stars in the Barons in the final because it's always nice if you're going to win it, beat the top teams in the league.
yeah.
I can definitely see Hull making the
Yeah,
semi-finals.
I think a lot of it is. I think a lot of it will be Billingham and Blackburn mentioned quite a lot this season. It's just where do the Barons fall in this? Do they be as good as last year? Do they fall away?
Well, that's another
Do
point because
do
they've not
does
strengthened, have they?
yeah, does Hull exceed expectations and go that one step further?
They're
So
my one to watch this season, the
yeah,
Jets, I
it's
think.
certainly going to be interesting.
Oh, but in terms of our final, like, I can't pick it really.
I've been on the side of Blackburn League, Blackburn Cup, Stars playoff, Stars national.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. We will obviously then usually go on to play a National League final and lose that as well.
Um, I think I am really excited for this North East South final. I'd love to play the Red Hawks. I think that'd be a good game. I
Yeah, I
think,
think we were a bit good last year. We knew we didn't have the best experience of traveling down, and a few things went against us. And obviously traveling that morning and then starting at 11 o'clock, and then
yeah,
Streatham, as soon as the puck drops, puts one top corner. You couldn't put it any more top corner if you tried, and
no,
you're on the
no,
back foot. But to lose only by one game, one goal, and had chances to equalise and take it to overtime, and dominated part of the periods shows that if we're at full strength, we would have been a much different animal to contend with.
do you think the not the difference, the gap between the last game against us and then playing that game was a factor for you?
Massive. What do you do for 3 weeks to keep that intensity? I
That's
know
one
it's,
thing we've done better, hasn't
yeah,
it, this
it's
year?
yeah. I mean, obviously it was the same for Streatham, but I don't think their travel was as far as ours for
No, I
one.
don't think so. No, I think
For one, um, they were all Brits. They didn't have any imposter house or keep. We obviously had two. One got injured, so one had to go home. And then obviously there was Paddy, who ended up getting suspended anyway,
Yeah.
again, and again. But yeah, I think we've just about covered a hell of a lot. I've got to somehow squeeze this into the episode.
Oh no, yeah,
Along,
sorry about that. I
yeah,
waffle.
no, it's okay. This is for the fans. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for your time, Graham.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me on.
People do listen to the channels that Graham's on. He's on a few. He helps support Watty as well at the 4,000 and counting, which is a very good listen, especially when Watty gets on his rants about various things, which I think
Yeah.
one of them might be the Peterborough stream price.
Oh yeah, but we've been talking about that in our WhatsApp
Yeah,
group today.
it's 17.5 quid. I hope it's good. And obviously you've got Hawks Talk where you basically have players on in that most weeks.
Yeah, with it being sort of an official club podcast, we kind of get chucked players, I guess. Obviously, it's good to be affiliated in that way because it gives you those access to players to ask them questions that the fans want to hear and things like that as well. So that's a good 4,000 is always good fun as well. Love being involved in that, and obviously coming on here and zero pucks given. It's good to be involved.
Yeah, I think I give it a bit of a mention. I give a bit of a shout out on Starscast of the day. Like, get behind these podcasts because we all want the same thing. We just want British hockey to thrive at the end of the day, and,
100%.
and especially at our level where it's not that recognised. And I think we have a damn good league down in the Morley Conference. Even the Lille is really good and getting really competitive, and it's getting a lot more serious as well.
I think it's having to. I think it's having to get better the Ladler to compete with our league in terms of fans. I mean, look at the playoffs as a good. Look how many Telford and Sutton fans there were. There was quite a few.
Yeah. I'd say there was quite a few Buccaneers, but you couldn't tell them between Buccaneers and Stars, which is absolutely fantastic having a second team in the city. Like we've gone to our farm team basically and pulled up a playoff champion netminder to replace Tom Brown. Not many teams can do that, which is.
It was interesting watching from the other side of the rink because there seemed to be all these black jerseys that then just seemed to switch to being red jerseys. It was quite funny to watch.
Yeah, but yeah, it was great. It was a great weekend. To be fair, much beer consumed. I should have did an episode really, but I didn't. But hey ho, maybe next year we can all get together and do a Knights of the Round Table sort of episode.
Definitely. That'll be good fun, won't it?
But yeah, certainly. Well, thank you very much for your time, Graham.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
We'll get you back on. We might get you back on Monday, depending on what the score was.
I could be busy that day.
Yeah, same here, mate. Same here. But yeah, thank you very much. And like I say, it should be out tomorrow as long as she can get it all edited in time. And she's a star doing all this. She's got interview with Ben, interview with you, and then the actual podcast to edit as well. So.
Tough time ahead editing my dulcet northern tones, so sorry in advance.
Well, she's got those same tones, hasn't she? So it's not so bad.
Oh yes, she does.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. Well, that was the two interviews with Ben and Graham. I really hope you enjoyed them. If you do have any feedback, please leave it. We all love feedback. We can learn from it. But that's not quite the end of this week's pod. We do have this weekend's fixtures. I'm not going to go into the pre-season stuff. It's kind of is what it is. No point going into details. Obviously, Hawks blown away, Sutton Sting. Hull Jets blown away, Sutton Sting. It's not a lot you can take from that. So we are just going to go straight into the weekend's fixtures, but not before we cover the first fixture. And unfortunately, I don't have any goal scorers for you from the first official league game of the season, which was the Nottingham Lions hosting the Sheffield Scimitars. It was a 6-1 victory for the Nottingham Lions. Do know the Scimitars goal scorer was, I think it's Aidan Dancer, who scored a bit of a world of goal, a Michigan, I believe. But let's say it was a win for Nottingham Lions, who take the first 3-point victory of the season and are sitting pretty at the top. So on to this weekend then. Who do we have up first on the Saturday? It is the Hull Jets versus the Leeds Knights, and that's probably a rivalry that could become a big one in the future, just as it is in the National League. The two teams don't like each other very much, but again, two fantastic teams in the National League, and I'm sure one day there'll be two big teams in the Morley Conference as well. So they face off on the Saturday for Leeds' first game. And then we move on to Sunday, where we do have 4 fixtures, that is, believe. We'll start off with the Warriors at home versus the Sheffield Scimitars. Can Warriors get their league campaign onto a positive start after a poor performance in pre-season? The Barons then get their home season underway versus the Leeds Knights. So a very tough start for the Knights, going to Hull, who barely lost a game last year on home ice, and then they go to one of the title favourites on the Sunday, so back-to-back away games. D-side get their campaign underway against the Nottingham Lions. Be interesting to see how Nottingham go with that improved roster and see how they go on the road at D-side. And then it's probably the game of the season already. It's the Blackburn Hawks visiting league champions Billingham Stars. Obviously, it's a huge game to start the season. Both teams will want to lay down a marker, so it's going to be a fantastic opening weekend. And yeah, I hope if you're near a rink, you get to a game. Give us some feedback of the games you go to. Let us know what you think of the teams that you see. Let us know if there's any players that you think are going to be standout players this year. And let us know your thoughts on who the teams are who are going to be competing for honours this year. As I mentioned earlier, the email address is there at sticktothepod@gmail.com, or you can drop me a line on Facebook, Stick to the Pod, or a direct message on Twitter, also known as X. And obviously don't forget the YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to that, because it does only help. Not a long one for me this week, as I've brought you the 2 interviews. I do hope you enjoy them, and there's hopefully plenty more to come during the season. Bye for now.